أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين على سيدنا محمد الصادق الوعد الأمين وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه الكرام ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وأرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وجعلنا من الذين يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه وأدخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. I believe last week we went up to point 52. And inshallah, today, we covered the mithaq. We also covered the hawd. If I may ask a few questions very quickly, not to put people on spot, but just to review what we learned before. What was the hawd? What was the meaning of the word hawd? Hawdi Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It is something very important for everyone to know, because the believers in the Day of Judgment, they're going to go to the hawd. That's where they're going to meet also with the Prophet ﷺ. Hawd was the lake or that pool where they're going to drink water and never feel thirsty again. Hawd al-Nabi, very important. We also talked about the mithaq. Mithaq was the covenant. What was the covenant? The Quran talks about it. Also talks about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taking this covenant from the children of Israel, from the Jews. So what's this covenant all about? Not that one. We said, if you do this, you're going to receive this. What is this and this? Huh? No. It is, as long as you accept me, and as long as you remain loyal to that oath that you have given before, to accept my existence and to believe in me, I will reward you with paradise. This is the mithaq. This is the covenant that took place between the souls and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, we said that before God created us in a human form, He created first our souls. And that's where He said, Alastu bi rabbikum? Am I not your Lord? And all the souls, they replied positively by saying, Qalu bala. They said yes, bala. Bala is not just yes, but it is like a heavy yes, or a firm, in affirmative yes. So that is the mithaq. Also, this is a very important word to remember. Mithaq. Covenant. This is the covenant. As long as you accept me, pretty much you have Jannah and you're going to see me there in paradise as well. What about shafa'ah? The word shafa'ah. We talked about shafa'ah. Asking forgiveness on behalf of us. And who will be the sahibu shafa'ah? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In other words, shafa'ah means, if we translate that word in English language, intercession. And it is exactly what you asked, what you just mentioned, Brother Yaqub. Alright. Let's move on, inshallah. Tonight we're going to move on to point number 53, right? Or 52. And our Hafiz Fawaz is going to continue from there. Bismillah.
وقد علم الله تعالى فيما لم يزل عدد من يدخل الجنة وعدد من يدخل النار جملة واحدة فلا يزال في ذلك العدد ولا ينقص منه.
Okay, so point number 52, it says, قَدْ عَلِمَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew already who is going to, the number of those who will enter paradise, and also the number of those who will enter the hellfire. Nothing is added to or subtracted from that number. So if it's a trillion people who will enter paradise, that's what's going to be. And nobody is going to move that less or more. Nobody can say, well, he doesn't deserve, so let's get him out of paradise. Or he doesn't deserve to be in the hellfire, let's get... No, everything, it is already precisely decided. Okay. Nothing is added or subtracted from that number. 53.
وكذلك فعله فيما علم منهم أن يفعلوه.
Okay, وكذلك. In the same way, his knowledge includes all of their actions, which he knew they would perform. For example, today I have decided to come to the masjid, pray Isha, deliver this lecture. This is all what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that I would perform. It's very simple. And I would not perform anything else beside what he already knew. Next one. Yes, this is important. That each is facilitated to do that for which he was created. Every person, every creation that God has created is going to serve the purpose of its creation. Sometimes we may see something wrong and say, wow, how is this possible? A catastrophe, how is this possible? The sun during the summer, so much heat, why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created with a purpose. Even though sometimes we don't know or we may misjudge things, but everything, including us, were created for a purpose. Everything, even a kafir is created for a purpose. Even a non-believer is created. Even a rat is created for a purpose. So each is facilitated to do for what that creation was created for. All right. This is also very important too. وَالْأَعْمَالِ بِالْخَوَاتِيمِ. A'mal, it refers to the deeds. Works, deeds. So we have righteous deeds, good deeds, and we have bad deeds too. Khawatim is from the khatma, which refers to the end of something, the conclusion of something. We have a life, and our life has an end. In other words, it means that our end will be according to, or the deeds that we perform, they will be according to the end. It is as saying, what matters is the end. As believers too, we are recommended to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by Prophet ﷺ. He also used this to ask for husnul khatima, for the best end. They say that you die as you live. You die as you live. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who pass away from this world and they're all the time on the right path. And their end also is a righteous end as well, inshallah. So this is very important. Again, وَالْأَعْمَالِ بِالْخَوَاتِيمِ. The deeds, they go according to, the final, the way how it is translated here, the judgment of one's deeds lies in one's final assertive act. Yes.
والسعيد من سعد بقضاء الله والشقي من شقي بقضاء الله تعالى.
So Sa'id is somebody who is happy, somebody who is in felicity, somebody who will be in paradise, the good person. Sa'id man sa'ida bi qada'illah. The happy person, or those who are ultimately saved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are those who are pleased with the decree of God. They don't do isyan. In other words, they're not rejecting what comes on their way. Calamity comes on the way. All right, let's deal with it. It's coming from Allah. Let's deal with it. Something happy comes on the way. Bismillah. Happiness. And life is always about calamities and happiness. These are the two main actors in life. So again, those who are ultimately saved by God's decisions, so those saved are ultimately saved by God's decision. وَسَعِيدُ مَنْ سَعِدَ بِقَضَاءِ اللَّهِ. This is just another interpretation of what I just said earlier. وَالشَّقِيُّ مَنْ شَقِيَ بِقَضَاءِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. Just as those damned are ultimately damned by God's decision. So, somebody who ends up in the hellfire, it is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also decided. Not that he didn't deserve though. Not that the person didn't work for that day or for that destination in the hereafter. The person did work for that. But it was also the decision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who decided to have him there. Next one.
وأصل القدر سر الله تعالى في خلقه لم يطلع على ذلك ملك مقرب ولا نبي مرسل.
Okay. So the essence of the divine decree is God's secret within creation. Again, the essence of the divine decree. Divine decree, we said the asl al-qadar. Qadar, there are two words actually being used for the decree. Qadar, qada and qadar. They go hand to hand. And they can both refer to the same thing. However, there is a difference between these two words. Qada is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees something but it doesn't take place. Remember this. Qada Allah, for example, as it goes in the Quran in multiple places. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already decided, has decreed. Qada. Qadar is something that already takes place. It is a decision that God has already decreed that has taken place. Qadar. That's why sometimes Arabs, they use this. قَدَّرَ اللَّهُ وَمَا شَاءَ فَعَلَ. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already decreed, and whatever He has decreed already took place. Clear? Qada, qadar. So going back to this one, وَأَصْلُ الْقَدَرِ سِرُّ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى فِي خَلْقِهِ. So the essence of the divine decree of God's secret within creation. No intimate angel or prophetic emissary has ever been privy to it. So whatever it is destined, whatever the decree, whatever it is, no angel, nobody. Yes.
والتعمق والنظر في ذلك ذريعة الخذلان وسلم الحرمان ودرجة الطغيان فالحذر كل الحذر من ذلك نظرا وفكرا ووسوسة فإن الله تعالى طوى علم القدر عن أنامه ونهاهم عن مرامه كما قال تعالى في كتابه لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون فمن سأل لم فعل فقد رد حكم الكتاب ومن رد حكم الكتاب كان من الكافرين.
Yes. So this point number 58 says, delving into the decree is a means to spiritual loss. Going into the decree, and asking why yes and why not. For example, why this catastrophe? Why these people died? What happened? And rejecting something that has happened already. At-ta'ammuq, it's called in the Arabic language. Going at it. At-ta'ammuq, going at it. Extreme. What is that? It is a spiritual loss. Like, we don't ask why. A descent into deprivation, which is also another negative level, and a path toward transgression. A path towards transgression. What is transgression? It is the ma'asiyah. It is rejection. It is sinful. It leads you to that transgression against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So be aware, he says, the Imam says, be aware. And take every precaution against that. Whether through persuasion, ideation, or suggestion. So even small things, even little things that sometimes you may say, oh well, this is not that important, I'm just asking this question. It's not that important. I'm not paying so much attention, or maybe I'm just joking about it. So be careful of all of these little things, not falling into that. Ideation or suggestion. You may say like, oh, I just had it in my mind. The author, the Imam, is saying, don't even preoccupy your mind with those thoughts of why and how and why God decreed this and why God decreed that. As I said earlier, it is not our business to get into that. God the Sublime, the Exalted, has concealed knowledge of the decree from His creatures and has prohibited them from desiring it. As the Sublime said in His book, He is not questioned about what He does. It is they who will be questioned. لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. So it is them who will be questioned. He is not questioned why. So therefore, it doesn't make sense for us to ask those kind of questions. Why? If you know that it is already a secret, it is a knowledge that it cannot be penetrated, that's it. Leave it there. Hence, anyone who asks, why has he done this, has rejected the judgment of the book. So this can send you out of the fold of Islam as well. And whoever rejects the judgment of the book is among the disbelievers. Alright, so let's move on to 59.
فهذا جملة ما يحتاج إليه من هو منور قلبه من أولياء الله تعالى وهي درجة الراسخين في العلم لأن العلم علمان علم في الخلق موجود وعلم في الخلق مفقود فإنكار العلم الموجود كفر وادعاء العلم المفقود كفر ولا يصح الإيمان إلا بقبول العلم الموجود وترك طلب العلم المفقود.
Now, if I may say something on the point 58, the sentence that, or the paragraph that we just mentioned earlier, you know that there are also those fortune tellers, right? Or they say, turn the coffee around and we can start reading your life according to the lines that the coffee is going to make. For those who drink the Turkish coffee, and I don't know if you can do that with the American coffee, but usually this is what we see in many places. Why do they do that? They do that in order to tell the others that we have an access to the asrar, to these secrets that other people don't. But what they're doing in reality, they are doing nothing but transgression towards God. And as the Imam said, anybody who does transgression towards God by sticking their nose to where it doesn't belong, then what happens? They can be disbelievers. That's why anybody who does that is cursed, and it is also a disbeliever. who gets involved with such a business. Because لا يعلم الغيب إلا الله. No one knows the ghaib, the unknown or the secrets, asrar, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, so going back now to point 59 that Hafiz just read earlier. It says that the above epitomizes what one with an illuminated heart among the protected of God needs. Okay, so what does this mean? People is referring to awliyas of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People who are protected from falling into this wrong path, or falling into asking questions or preoccupying their minds with such questions. They are the ones who are illuminated in their heart. They have an illuminated heart. God puts that nur in their hearts. But also, and they can become among those who are the awliyas of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, it is a quality of the awliyas of God. They don't ask such questions. Their daily life is based on the pleasure they have and the agreement, and not based on transgression, but based on rida, based on the pleasure that they have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is their quality of the awliyas of Allah. وَهِيَ دَرَجَةُ الرَّاسِخِينَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. And this is the level of those who contemplate when it comes to knowledge. They deal with knowledge. They're deeply rooted in knowledge. Given that knowledge is two types. So, again, if I can kind of summarize what I just mentioned in regards to this point, that once you don't ask and once you don't think about those kind of questions, you don't bring out ideas why and how in regards to the decrees of God, then number one, we mentioned that the person can have a quality of those who are the awliyas of Allah, and also number two, can have a quality of those who are from the rasikhin fil ilm, those who are deeply rooted in knowledge. You have an open path to these two great qualities. Otherwise, you have closed paths. Even if you desire to be knowledgeable, but you still have problems with the decree of God, the door of knowledge will never be open to you. Or the door of wilaya will never be open to you. And then he says that there are two kinds of knowledge. Since he's talking about the rasikhin fil ilm, those who are deeply rooted in knowledge, then the Imam is saying that there are two kinds of knowledge, he says. The humanly accessible and the humanly inaccessible knowledge. To either deny accessible knowledge or to claim the inaccessible is disbelief. Okay? To deny the accessible knowledge, to say that, no, you cannot attain any knowledge at all, or to say that you have knowledge of the unseen, is disbelief in both cases. Faith is not sound unless accessible knowledge is embraced and the pursuit of the inaccessible is abandoned. Why does the Imam say this? The Imam says this because back in the days, or even nowadays, there are people who say that we don't deal with an average knowledge that people deal with. As a matter of fact, this is an illusion. This is not the true thing. But the true thing is what we get inspired through, through the dreams, or what I hear from my ears and what I see with my eyes, things beyond this reality. Like, they claim that they are living with you and me, but in reality they belong to a different world, and they are seeing, hearing, and being inspired from a different world that has all of these secrets. Usually, these people who are soothsayers or, readers, like talking to spirits and do all that kind of stuff, those are the ones who would do something like this. They would deny the accessible knowledge and they would pursue the thing that needs to be abandoned, which is the inaccessible knowledge. In both cases, that is a sign of kufr right there. And it is kufr. It's disbelief. Therefore he says, faith is not sound unless accessible knowledge is embraced. Accessible knowledge is everything. Accessible knowledge is everything that we know. A part of knowledge is me knowing that this is a microphone right here. And this is real. Because the shape, the function of the microphone, and everything that is related to it, I hear my sound echoing around the masjid. So I know for sure that this is, my knowledge tells me that this is a microphone. I cannot deny this. This is the accessible knowledge. Or anything that deals with math and other sciences too, this is accessible knowledge. So to deny this and to say, no, this is not real. Looks like it, but actually it is not real. It is something, you know. So again, faith will not be sound unless accessible knowledge is embraced and the pursuit of the inaccessible knowledge is abandoned. We move to point number 60. So point 60 says we believe in the pen and the tablet. وَنُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّوْحِ. We believe in the tablet, as a matter of fact. وَالْقَلَمِ, and also on the pen. وَبِجَمِيعِ مَا فِيهِ قَدْ رُقِمْ. And all that was inscribed by the pen. What is the pen and what is the lawh? These are very important words as well. Al-qalam, al-lawh wal-qalam. Lawh is the preserved tablet. What is a preserved tablet? It is something that we don't know. Ultimately, we just don't know what it is. But we have an idea, we have some indications based on the Quran, based on the verses of the Quran. Fi lawhin mahfuz, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the Quran is in the lawh, is in this preserved tablet. And we also know that the knowledge of everything is also written there. And whatever is going to happen in the past is also written there. And we know that humans and jinns, they have no access to it, and even angels, except to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows them to take from it. And act based on the inscribing in the lawh. So it is something beyond our comprehension. But if we can imagine it, we can think that it is a preserved, imagine like a computer memory, where everything is, it can be even small, but actually there is so many gigabytes. You know, it can be something very small, but it has like 1,000, what are those called? Terabytes. Something very small. So I want you to imagine, the knowledge of a lot of things being preserved there in that preserved tablet. And the Quran itself is there. As a matter of fact, the Quran was there and it came from Lawh al-Mahfuz to angel Jibreel alayhi salam, who took it from the heaven. Right, it came down there to the heaven and then it came down to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Alright, so that is the preserved tablet. When it comes to the qalam, what is a qalam? It is what wrote, it is the pen. But you don't have to think about an average pen that you use, right? This is above, again, this is above our imagination. Because we're dealing with things that are above our, comprehension here. And the pen wrote. The first thing, as a matter of fact, there's also a hadith that says that the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created was the pen. There's one of the first things that I would say, even though the hadith itself says that this is the first thing that is created. But also there are other hadiths that talks about other things that were created first. So that's why I'm saying there is one that says that the first thing was created was the pen. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told to that pen to write, and the pen kept writing about what was going to happen in the future. So everything is preserved in that preserved tablet. Lawh al-Mahfuz. Alright. Point number 61.
فلو اجتمع الخلق كلهم على شيء كتبه الله تعالى فيه أنه كائن ليجعلوه غير كائن لم يقدروا عليه ولو اجتمعوا كلهم على شيء كتبه الله تعالى فيه أنه غير كائن ليجعلوه كائنا لم يقدروا عليه جف القلم بما هو كائن إلى يوم القيامة.
Yes. Hence, if everyone united to remove from existence what God the Sublime and Exalted decreed would exist, they could not. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that I'm going to create the human, and He decided upon that, and His decision will always take place, His decision cannot be refused. Therefore He says that even if everyone else, whatever He has created, they reject that decree, the decree will always be the one that will take place. Will be above everything else. Angels, they asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They didn't transgress, but they asked. إِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً قَالُوا أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ. God said that I'm creating on earth someone who will be the Khalifa, the viceroy. And they said, are you creating someone who will shed the blood? So they are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though they were kind of shocked with this when they heard from Allah, but still nothing can, reject His decree. Shaitan was against it. He said, you created me out of that. He was against the creation of Adam. Maybe not in the early stages, but later on. So, no matter what happens, here it says that everyone united to remove from existence what God, the Sublime and Exalted, decreed would exist, they could not. Likewise, if they all united to introduce something into existence that God, the Sublime and Exalted, did not decree, they would not be able to do so. The opposite. The pen's work is done concerning what was, is, and will be until the day of resurrection. And as a matter of fact, all of this sentence is based on a hadith of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. We find that in the 40 hadiths of Imam Nawawi. That the pen, the ink is dried and the papers or the scrolls are lifted. Means that this will take place for sure. The decree is done. Or even in the Quran, لو اجتمعت الإنس والجن على أن يأتوا بمثل هذا القرآن لم يأتوا بمثله ولو كانوا بعضهم لبعض ظهيرا. Even if the jinns and the humans would come up to do something or to create something like this Quran, they would not be able to do so. Prophet ﷺ, he says, if God has decreed something good, I'm just wrapping it up, just summarizing the hadith. If He wants you to have something good, nobody can take that away from you. And if He wants you not to have something good, no matter what people do, you will never be able to attain that good thing. So the pens are dried and the scrolls are lifted up. It means that the decree will take place. In other words, it's done. In the Arabic, sometimes people ask this question, why is that? The pens are dried and the scrolls are lifted. Means that it's over. You know when a writer, for example, writes something and finalizes that, what does he do? Close the book, everything is done pretty much. There's no need again to go back to it, and it's done. It's ordained. Alright, and we will close it inshallah with point number 62. Let's read this one too, and we close it for tonight.
وما أخطأ العبد لم يكن ليصيبه وما أصابه لم يكن ليخطئه.
This is also a very important point that often people, they misunderstand. It says, whatever misses a person could not have afflicted him. Whatever misses you could not have afflicted you. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I'm so lucky. This didn't hit me. Or this person lost his house. This person lost all of the wealth. I'm so lucky that I didn't lose it. No. It was not going to happen to you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed it that way. So don't think that it came out of luck. But it was because of the decision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for you not to be in that state like your friend or neighbor or whatever. So that's why it says, whatever misses a person could not have afflicted him. But then the other part of the sentence or the paragraph says, and whatever afflicts him could not have missed him. People ask question, why? Why me? Look at the people around, they're all happy, why me? Look at, they all have money, why me? Why do I have to be poor? Why me? What am I? And sometimes, because people, they don't believe in this decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they end up having conflicts with themselves as well. Putting themselves down and thinking that they're no good at all. There's no good in them. But when a person is positive and the person says, you know what? I am this way because there is a decree for me to be in this way. Right? It's not because, it's not because it just happened and I was not lucky enough to be like the other person. It is what it is. It is what it is. And I agree with that. I leave it in the hands of Allah, and I know that this was decided already. So in other words, you have to think this way. Something happened before, it was already decided to happen. You can't return that. You cannot do anything about it. Therefore, just learn out of it. If it's something, that you can learn out of it, learn out of it. If it is something that you cannot learn out of it, then just let it go. Let it go completely and don't even think about it. Why? Because you're not going to be able to change it, number one. And number two, God has already decreed like that. It was a part of the qadr. It was a part of the qadr. So it meant to be that way, as they say it. It meant to be. Feel pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as I said, if you have a lesson to learn, learn it and do better next time. If not, how can you learn? Like, let's say something, all of a sudden you're staying home and there is an airplane crash and it destroys half of your house. Right? This is something that is, no matter, what can you learn out of it? What can you learn? It just happens. Feel pleased and say that Inna lillah, for example, wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We belong to Allah and we all return back to Him. So we leave it here and we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us among those who are pleased with His decree and makes us among those who are righteous servants of His and makes us among those who will be with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam in Jannat al-Firdaus. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد الصادق الوعد الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Is there any question? Alright. So inshallah we meet again next week Wednesday. Barakallahu feekum.